My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my video on why the ending of Don't Worry Darling doesn't work, and other spoiler-filled thoughts. So if you haven't seen it, there's your spoiler warning. But this is not a movie I liked at all. Really hated it. If you want to watch my review from the other day, it's on my channel. But it ends with this reveal where it turns out Jack is a lazy bum, he's unemployed, while Alice is working 30-hour shifts at the hospital, and Jack feels insecure about that, so he puts her into this program where she can just be a happy housewife, and none of this worked for me, and the more I think about it, the less sense it makes. Let's talk about this from a more subjective point of view. I hate the fact that Olivia Wilde's trying to create this feeling of being a housewife is that you're trapped. I get that some people do feel that way, but the way that she's doing it by showing her vacuuming the house every day, cleaning the bathtub every day, like those are just everyday adult things. I live by myself and I have to vacuum every week. I have to clean my bathtub every week. I have to dust every week. It's part of being an adult. You can showcase me doing that and me feeling trapped, but it's just being a grown up. On top of that, what if the person's job is cleaning? I used to clean for a living and it's hard work. So you could try to make that look super negative and all that. You know, same as any other job. So the fact that she just shows us like the day to day repetitiveness as feeling trapped, I don't think does what she's trying to do any justice. It just kind of makes it feel very artificial. And on top of that, I don't like the fact that the bad guy in this movie is Jordan Peterson. Now, I'm not even a huge fan of the guy, but I do understand who he is and why people like him so much. And Olivia Wilde has said in interviews that Chris Pine is modeled after him. And to do that and to try to demonize a guy who doesn't deserve it is just such a terrible thing to do. It shows that she has no understanding of Jordan Peterson, the people who like him. It just shows her worldview as being incredibly narrow. She thinks that her feminist point of view is amazing and incredible and right, and everyone who disagrees with her is just wrong and a terrible person, and just everything about her as a person just rubs me the wrong way. You know, I love Booksmart. I think she directed that movie incredibly well. I think there's elements of this movie that are well directed, but as a person, I just do not like her, and we could get into all that behind the scenes drama, but I'll shy away from that. But I'll just say that I love the fact this movie got terrible reviews and Jason Sudeikis won an Emmy around the same time. Not even saying the guy deserved it, but a tad bit of karma. I kind of like that. Anyway, sorry, back to the movie. But we do got this plot where Jack is putting Alice into this program, and it just doesn't make any sense because in this program, Jack still has to go to work each and every day. He leaves the program to work in the real world. So his mindset is he's insecure about not being able to support and provide for Alice. So he puts her into a program where she doesn't have to work and where he now works. But why would you go through that entire process? Like, the entire movie kind of just feels irrelevant because nothing in this 50s or 60s neighborhood had any bit of importance. It's about this man who is not providing and supporting as he should, so he kind of forces the situation onto it. But he still gets a job in the real world, so why couldn't he just get a job in the real world and try to support and provide for Alice without going through all the unneeded evil extra steps? I'll tell you why. It's so you can demonize the point of view where a guy wants to provide and support for his wife. That's the only reason where they did it. The guy is so insecure, he can't provide, he can't support, even though I do believe men should do that. Women can work too, but, you know, I do think that men should be men. And on top of that, you just have to put him in this situation where he does something truly evil and awful to demonize the entire point of view. It's going to extremes, going to exaggerations to try to make a political point, and I don't think any bit of it works. It's also done a huge disservice by the fact that Alice and Jack have zero bit of character. The real life people are just empty, hollow people. We don't know anything about them. How long have they been together? Why are they together? I see zero romance between them. And the fact that the characters have the zero level of depth or nuance just paints this in a very two-dimensional way that doesn't work. So, and it's not a little nitpick. Like, that is everything the movie is relying on. And the only character work in this movie is Florence Pugh finding out that this world is fake and then trying to escape, and she succeeds. Like, that's it. There's nothing deeper going on. And I will say that the fact that in this neighborhood, the fact that it's always Jack pleasuring Alice, I get what it's trying to do with him wishing that he could make her feel good, but in some ways, if this movie's meant to capture the male gaze or whatever, wouldn't it make more sense for it to be the other way around for everything she's trying to say? So I don't really feel like that feels consistent with the themes, and the movie, the more you think about it, the more it just doesn't work. Apparently the husbands, if they die in the real world, but does that happen with the wives, or what happens there? And how does Alice stay alive in the real world? I'm not sure that really makes a whole lot of sense. You know, I know they said that he goes into the real world, so maybe he puts the, I forget what it's called, but like the needles, or like keeps you hydrated, or I'm sure there's ways that he goes about it, but I still don't think it really makes a bunch of sense. And then we get this ending where Alice puts her hand against the window and that's it. That's the ending of this movie. It's just like, okay, so there's no character arc, there's no emotional payoff there. It doesn't really have anything to say at that point. And narratively, it's just, why did it end there? Like, what's the aftermath? Did she wake up and Jack is dead, or what happens next? Does she still just work 30-hour shifts? Like, what? And the thing is, like, a half hour into the movie, the exact same thing happens. So why is this time any different? It just doesn't make an ounce of sense. Not a tiny bit. And I do also want to say that if it has this mindset that Alice working is good and Jack working, trying to provide and support for his wife is bad, is it trying to say that Alice working 30-hour shifts is a good thing? Like, I looked it up. Apparently this is real, that people who work in hospitals can work that much, and I think that is absolutely outrageous, and that's not a good thing. So what's the movie's stance on that? I just disagree with Olivia Wilde on every fundamental issue, and it shines in this movie and what she's trying to do. On top of that, she also acts in the movie for a little bit, and they give her this backstory where her kids are dead, so she goes into this world to escape, and it's just a very dark, heavy story that comes out of nowhere for a character who had zero impact on the plot up until that point. So that was really odd. Some other things I could talk about is that you've got this scene between Florence Pugh and Chris Pine in the kitchen that I really like, but then it continues to the dining room sequence, and this is lots of people's favorite scene, and I didn't really care for it because Alice just said every obviously wrong thing there where she obviously looked crazy. You know, in a movie like The Invisible Man, you buy into it a lot more, but here, not so much. You've also got this one scene where Jack gets a promotion, and it has zero effect on the characters or plot, but they make it out to be this huge deal. So that did nothing for me. And just Alice finding all these things out, like a plane crashes, and I guess it was just a glitch, but it feels random, or those eggs without eggs. Does no one else realize that? Like, it's better if someone starts to figure things out, if it's purely driven by character, but here it's kind of driven by contrivance, and none of it has any bit of emotional weight. Kiki Lane's character should have played a bigger role because she's Alice before what happens to Alice happens to Alice. She is, and it would have presented a unique point of view, but it's given hardly any bit of attention. There's one scene where she kills herself, and it would have been much better if we see her again and she's not who she was when she killed herself. She's just like, oh no, everything is fine, everything is great. We hear that she's fine, but we don't see her again, so the fact that her character just vanishes is very weird, and her death should have had larger emotional weight. I'll also say that the ending, back to the ending, because I forgot to mention one thing, is that I heard some people be like, well, what did you want? Another The Village, but what we got was The Village. You think it takes place in the 50s or 60s, but it actually takes place in modern day? That's The Village. It's a modernized version of The Village, but The Village nonetheless. In my review, I did mention there was one movie that the twist reminded me of that came out recently, and it's the movie with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, Serenity, where everything in that movie is a video game and everything in this movie is a computer program, so I thought that was really funny. A few other points I have is that when Alice gets reprogrammed later on, it's handled in a very sloppy manner because she's great, she's happy again, just the way she was at the beginning of the movie. We see that she has kids now for only one scene and then they vanish. And then she hears Harry Styles hum that song and she's just like, oh, I remember everything. And it's just like, okay, so before it took an hour and a half for her to get to this point, and then just like that, she's good again. Even though she already heard that song in the first hour and a half, you don't buy it at all. I also think the car chasing is hilariously bad. Like, the crash is really bad. The group of men with the red outfits reminded me of Squid Game combined with Us, and they're not as present in the movie for them to have any bit of impact. It would have been great if they were in certain moments that would have raised Alice's suspicions early on. And one last thing I do want to say is that I think Harry Styles is terrible in this movie. He's just trying so hard to act like a real actor. But I think Joe Keery would be much better in this role. And I know I said it's derivative of other movies, but I feel like this movie would have been better if they went full Get Out or full Stepford Wives instead of the direction they did went. Like, I think there's ways to go about this movie and have it be good, but Olivia Wilde didn't go about any of those ways. So those are all my spoiler-filled thoughts. I might as well do this video now because I'm never going to watch this movie again, and I just wanted to get these thoughts out there. But what did you think of this movie and the ending? Did you like it? Did it work for you? What did or didn't work? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.